Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between DuckloadRa versus DIMAGA here on Tal'Darim Altar. Let me go ahead and actually show you someone playing, as we have DIMAGA spawning as the purple or the light blue cyan Zerg over here on the bottom left hand side of the map at the 7 o'clock position. Meanwhile, DuckloadRa spawning as the red Protoss at the 10 o'clock position. Should be an interesting matchup. I got a lot of... Yes, King of the Hill by StarCraft World.et. I believe that's Italy, but then again, I'm often wrong when I guess, so I won't try to guess, and I take that guess back. Anyways, DuckloadRa spawning as the red Protoss at the 10 o'clock position. DuckloadRa, a player that doesn't need any introduction from the Zergs, from the European servers, a very well-known player. He often goes by WhiteRa. DuckloadRa, or Duckload, is his sponsor, and that's why he did change his name. We see an Overlord now making its way out, DIMAGA. We'll see if he goes for an early hatchery or if he tries to go for an early or spawning pool. Early hatchery versus early spawning pool. Both are very viable options, but on Tal'Darim Altar, a map as large as this, I would normally expect a player to try to go for a fast hatchery. Alright, a little bit of a stutter there. Sorry about that. Let me get back into the game. Okay, so a fast hatchery, just because, as I say that, DIMAGA already throws on a spawning pool, so it is not going to be a fast hatchery. Instead, it is going to be an earlier Zerglings, and I'm curious as to how this is going to work. Duckload is going to have a gateway down momentarily, perhaps a second gateway, warp in photon cannons right behind that pylon there, and then be able to really fend off against any early aggression. The probe now moving down in order to do some scouting will quickly scout out his opponent here. The spawning pool is nearly completed. You can see that it will be up in just a moment, and there's no gas yet, so this is more for Zerglings and perhaps for an early Queens. This is a rather strange maneuver, as you can now see a drone in order to get some damage onto this one particular probe. There's that Queen that I was talking about just moments ago. The probe now just going to hang out over here, perhaps try to delay the drone from dealing any serious damage at all, or not, the probe blocking the drone, and then the probe also moving so that the drone cannot deal any damage. But there it goes. There's that hatchery. DIMAGA able to set it up in time. Zerglings now bringing up the rear. Poor probe. Going to take a bit of damage. The probe does have a little bit of a head start. And now the Zerglings and doing some scouting now. So two Zerglings chasing after that probe. Meanwhile, Zerglings are just going to every corner of the map in order to find their opponent. Another Overlord now pushing out over here. We will be getting up a photon cannon. Gateway is already warping in. It will need another 45 seconds before it is done. A Zergling, getting hit in the face with the little photon cannon there and deciding to back off. Hatchery about, I would say, halfway done already. Just another 50 seconds until it is up and running, as DuckloadRa going into a double gas after this early expansion. DuckloadRa will be able to start chrono boosting off of that Nexus really easily, and that is going to help him in the long run. Zerglings chasing after the probe down to 14 hit points already. It looked like it may regenerate some shields and then quickly lose that shield once more, as the Zerglings take turns trying to slash apart that probe. You're going to see it again, down to 9 hit points. Down to 11 hit points. So the Zerglings taking a bit of their time there, but a new Zergling going to join in and now getting a new hit. And is it going to be able to take down that probe? The probe is down to 1 hit point, and there it goes. So there goes that scouting probe, but now a new scouting probe going to stick its head into the base. A Queen already nearby to take care of this hatchery. There's already creep tumors now being spread out between these two bases, allowing for easy movement between the two bases there. The probe now able to scoot by, but not going to be able to really run away from that Queen. The Queen does have a decent range, and now finally pulling away a new Queen, hanging off over here as all the trees slowly die due to that creep. A macro hatch now coming into play as well. So DIMAGA going for a macro hatch, which really much or pretty much indicates that he is not going to be going for any tier 2 units just quite yet. The reason why I can tell this is because the tier 1 units are much cheaper to build, but you are more larva restricted than resource restricted during the early portion of the game. But here we also see a third base as well, so we are going to be running off of 4 hatcheries in just a moment, and I think DuckloadRa is going to have a bit of a problem on his hands. We can see that a Stargate is now being added, and as long as DIMAGA continues to train up even more Queens, he should have a very easy time here. There is no evolution chambers that I can see, And yeah, no evolution chamber as the spore crawler is not able to be produced. You should get another queen here, perhaps another queen in one of these two locations as well, as we are finally going into the evolution chamber. So DIMAGA going to be power droning his way. You can see all of these spawn larvas are going to hatch up in just a moment. And the drone count versus the probe count will slowly grow in favor of DIMAGA, but a Void Ray is now finally being warped into the scene. You can see the Stargate now training up. It is only 30 more seconds away, even less if you consider that chrono boost coming in right on top of that Stargate there to speed up the production, as a queen is now up and running. So one queen should turn around spawn larva there. You can see a spore crawler being added here, a spore crawler being added here as well, not directly in the mineral line. Not quite sure why. That overlord, sorry, that Void Ray now finally coming into play. There goes that overlord now. As we should be getting more and more spore crawlers into position. So yeah, an additional spore crawler now going to be added. This spore crawler perhaps needs to move off over here. Another spore crawler being built. You can see that the Void Ray is slowly making its way down the map already, as a spore crawler takes 30 seconds to build. Will it be enough time? That spore crawler already rooted, and there you go. One spore crawler taking a load of damage, as the queen now getting in some damage as well. The queen trying to get some damage, as this Void Ray going to be able to perhaps shut down this spore crawler. Spore crawler does cancel at the last moment there, and nicely done by DIMAGA canceling that spore crawler. He essentially gets a full hit point spore crawler back into play, and because that spore crawler was able to absorb in so much damage, the second spore crawler was able to root. A phoenix now and a Void Ray in the air. It looks like we are going to have sentries and stalkers attempt to get established this expansion here, as it will be 3 bases, the 3 bases in just a moment. 8 more drones now being added, as DIMAGA just going to macro up into a crazy amount of units. 59 drones already. Yeah, 59 drones, even after laying down a whole bunch of spore crawlers in multiple bases to keep his base up and running from those air units. You can see that there are 2 phoenixes over here. An overlord is spewing creep there, as I believe the phoenixes, one of them did get a kill, so that drone that wanted to grow up and be a hatchery got denied, as the spore crawler is off on this side. And now you can see that there is a queen nearby as well. That spore crawler does deal 15 damage per attack. It also has 1 base armor. One of the benefits of the Zerg, even though it does less damage than a missile turret, it has more hit points, and also it has a little bit of armor, so that it definitely does help out. The Phoenix is still wandering about, hanging off down over here, as another Phoenix joining in. So we are going to have a lot of Phoenixes in just a moment. Meanwhile, 9 Hydralisks being added. So DuckloadRa, he does have that robotics facility, not quite sure where it is. There it is. And he is now training up Colossi. So yes, the Colossi are now being added to counter those Hydralisks. Hydralisks tend to group together really quickly. And now what are all of these queens doing? The queens need to stay home and perhaps maintain the hatchery. Not quite sure why they are in here. As the Hydralisks now turn around, you can see the Hydralisks battling it out. Queens, oh, nice transfusion, keeping it alive. And a lot of damage dealt, as those queens able to keep up those Hydralisks. No creep yet, and perhaps an overlord will fly nearby, spew some creep, and then the queens can start adding some of those creep tumors, and we can start seeing a very strong creep spread, as Hydralisks and Zerglings are once again on the move. You can see more stalkers are being warped in. There is this very strong Protoss Stalker Colossus Void Ray ball, as the Hydras quickly just come in, gonna shut down that one Void Ray there. There it goes. And now the Zerglings are going to be trying to swarm in, as the Hydras are going to be able to get in a lot of damage here. Stalkers are engaging. There you go. There's that Colossus. Phoenixes are nearby. Now also Graviton beaming. And I believe DIMAGA, he does have a sea of Zerglings, but he has to be really careful in this engagement here. The Hydra is getting picked up by those Phoenixes, and the Stalkers are just continuing to funnel in, trying to win the war of attrition. Another transfusion coming in from the Queen, so offensive Queens here, now really giving a really strong tactic. The Queens, however, now going to get picked up and get shut down. It looks like the Hydras are trying to finish off those Phoenixes, but more Stalkers are now reinforcing. Colossi coming in, or one Colossus coming in, another Phoenix getting taken down, and a very early exchange by both sides. DIMAGA taking a little bit more of the beating in that engagement, as we are now at 58 drones compared to 65 probes, and a stronger economy is in store for DuckloadRa, as DuckloadRa should be able to transfer some probes. I believe he's oversaturated at one of his bases, as there's really no way that 58 versus 68 that there shouldn't be a visible difference. So DIMAGA perhaps having a better disbursement on his drones is the only reason why he has or is able to keep up with his opponent, economically speaking. More Zerglings getting queued up, more gateways being added, so we are going to see DuckloadRa or WhiteRa being able to push out with a large array of units in just a few seconds. Hydralisk and Zerglings once again going to push their way forward. There are a couple photon cannons there. The Hydralisk and Zerglings are now wandering around, and an observer does spot them. So DuckloadRa will be able to know that this attack is coming into play. Overlords are now starting to spew some creep as well, as the Hydras are going to finally engage, but just attacking and getting destroyed. The Void Rays may get shut down. One Void Ray is still alive. Both Void Rays still alive. The Zerglings, both Void Rays down to 7 hit points. There they are, both in the low, and finally taking some damage there. But DIMAGA is in a world of hurt. He is in a very, very small... He has a very, very small army right now. His power droning did not really help him out, sitting at 59 drones compared to 73 probes. And I think at this stage, we are just going to see these Colossi attack move straight into the base. There's nothing really to counter them. No Corruptors. The Spore Crawlers do not deal enough damage, and are also out of range, as well as the Colossi are able to attack from a range of 9 as opposed to a range of 7 on those Spore Crawlers. So the Hydralisks now losing their movement speed upgrade because these creep tumors are going to slowly start to recede. The Hydralisk and Zerglings need to swarm around, and will it be enough? 2,700 versus 3,525. There's the Guardian Shield. Zerglings now swarming in from the backside. No infestors, no fungal growth, and I believe that's just going to be simply too much. One Colossus down, another Colossus down, but as the Stalkers are still continuing to push in, you can see one Colossus just standing tall, able to shut down this extractor over here. The Stalkers now getting in a fair amount of damage as well. We are going to get more Zerglings and Hydralisk. Pathogen Glands finally being added. The Spore Crawlers are trying to root, but they are not within combat range. Finally able to get off one shot onto that Void Ray, and that was it. Drones now desperately running away, as well as DIMAGA now reestablishing his base somewhere else. It is 3 bases compared to 3 now. 73 probes versus 64 drones, I believe. Yeah, 64 drones. A Queen not going to be standing sticking around for very, very long. One Colossus going to get taken down. Yet down it goes. So that was a give me Colossus and a give me Void Ray there, as DuckloadRa wasn't keeping track of his units. The Hydralisk once again going to try to engage, but those Colossi moving so quickly, just dealing a splash damage and able to pull back when it needs to very, very easily. And now the Colossi are just slicing through these Hydralisks like a hot knife through butter. It looks like a Colossus may get taken down. One Colossus now down, as another Colossus is there to take its place. 5 Hydralisks, level 1 claw attack. The poor Observer just staying nearby. Looks like DIMAGA coming in with another 9. We'll be able to get some damage onto that one Colossus. There it goes. Down it goes. Zerglings now swarming in, and a 125 versus a 143 food. The Zerglings picking off some of those units rather easily, as the Stalkers are now trying to ball up towards the side. And now I do not believe that DIMAGA really has enough to really follow up the attack. And DuckloadRa is still having the advantage at this time, but it doesn't look like he really knows how to press his advantage. He needs to come back with a larger size army. You can see that the resources for DuckloadRa is significantly larger, 1,300. Perhaps dumping them into Zealots would not be a bad idea, as both players are now running off of 4 bases. Stalkers on the move. Production, we can see level 2 weapons upgrade and Blink being added. Void Ray about to be completed, in addition to another Colossus and another robotics facility. So we are going to have 2 base robotics facilities in just a few more seconds, or 4 base 2 robotics facility, as another Nexus also being established as well. It looks like the Stalkers are looking to deal a lot of damage. This side over here, very, very low and very exposed. Zerglings are now trying to engage. The Stalkers are going to be able to blink and then get a lot of damage. The Colossi could have sliced through some of those Zerglings rather quickly, but level 2 weapons upgrade has not completed, so the Colossi will not be able to completely shut it down. Army compositions 4825 with 2,000 gas versus 3125 with 1,350 gas now, as Neuroparasite is starting to be researched. Will it be enough? Neuroparasite, very, very powerful in being able to take control and tip the tide by gaining control of some Colossi and perhaps some Void Rays. One Void Ray now desperately trying to move once again. Hydralisk and Zerglings on the low ground, as the army sizes are starting to get a little bit more even. As soon as DuckloadRa gets at 193, he should move out. He will, or sorry, 200. He should move out. He does have a maximum food, or will have maximum food as soon as his gateways are finished cooling down. Another proxy pylon being set up in order to warp in more units, and we are now finally at 196. The Colossi quickly slicing after this one extractor there. Down it goes. The Stalkers could easily blink up onto that high ground and get a lot of damage. The Colossi are just so close by, slicing through all of those units. The Colossi will be will have level 3 weapons upgrade in just a moment, as all of those Broodlings are absolutely just destroyed and sliced apart. In comes a Infestor. Infestor does have enough for a fungal growth and some Neuroparasite, but the Stalkers were able to blink by. Zerglings now swarming in, and I believe this is just going to be too much. Yeah, there is one fungal growth going off. The Infestor needs to get off another fungal growth. Both sides just battling it out, but I think the Infestor is still down to 67 energy. Not going to have enough. Stalkers now going after that one poor Infestor, and there's the GG. DIMAGA really never being in a very, very dominant position throughout this game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between DuckloadRa and DIMAGA. Stay tuned for Game 2.